No, that's okay. So I come from a traditional admin background. So I've not been a consultant. Now I'm an independent consultant. So I always think of the things as like a CRM admin, what would be exciting to me. Everything I agree with, but I would say that's more for like the consulting side, right? Like what are consultants excited about? For me, it was like seeing a form within a form. So when I'm, talking to my sales reps and they can open up a contact or an opportunity right from their account form. So that it's less clicks, it's less places to go. They don't have all these different screens open because you had to have people have multiple tabs open in a browser, and that can get really frustrating and things like that. So those kinds of things make it exciting for me. I know Sarah made a lot of jokes about the infinite scrolling, but oh my gosh, do I have to tell you how excited I am for the infinite scrolling, because you don't have to like limit your pages or tell people to max out their personal changes, the 250, things like that. And then also to visualize this view. So they have a Power BI thing built right into Dynamics now. So if you're on the opportunity, you can click visualize this view and it'll actually pop up some Power BI dashboards of or charts, I should say, of like what they think that you'd be interested in. And you can change the filters and change what data points you're using. It's the first attempt at it. So I don't want to say it's great or it's perfect, but it's something. And so those companies that can't afford a Power BI resource, it does allow them some sort of, access into it. Now, of course, that brings up the question of, do you need a Power BI Pro license, like all the licensing questions. I think Microsoft is doing a lot with the E5 and giving some Power BI access and things like that. But those are the things that excite me, would that make the user experience better and easier coming from an admin perspective.
That's a good point. That is a complicated part too. In fact, I think there's a session today, I think either today or tomorrow, where that's the whole focus. That's getting the most out of Power BI and licensing with it, because it's complicated, right? Good stuff to be aware of. All of this, and of course, from our perspective, go ahead.
Yeah.
Asif.
Well, Microsoft and I have that complicated kind of relationship, I think, since the beginning, because I feel like they're awesome, but at the same time, they change their mind a lot. There's stuff that is supposed to be in a release, like, oh, we're not going to do it, or we're going to just push it off to the next release, and that happens all the time. Not just in Dynamics, but other products as well. And then let's say you've already made a video or you wrote an article about it, and like, oh yeah, it was supposed to be next month, but guess what? It's indefinite now, or it's gone. That's one issue that I struggle with personally, because you're the one on the line. You're the person who's actually putting this information out there, getting people excited. The second thing is pricing. So we talked about Viva Sales right now, right? And if you look at the pricing, Heidi actually mentioned this on the stage in the general session, right? If I remember correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong. You guys are there. If you have enterprise, you get it with the license, right? So, which is about $95 a month per user per month. If you have sales professional, you have to buy it separately for $40 per user per month. That's expensive for Viva Sales. And that happens many times when the pricing came out for Power Apps back in the day, for other stuff like that. People are like, well, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense, So I think they'll have to figure some of these things out. They have to make sure they hit their deadlines when they say they're going to, and then also make the pricing in a way that people can, digest. But aside from those things, a lot of good stuff. I also agree with your notion about the whole Power Apps thing. I think the idea is great of co-authoring, but what will be the execution of that? Is it going to be where there's a super technical user who's editing the form, that a business user with no technical background doing it, and then they're conflicting in their thoughts? Because the business user, of course, has all the business knowledge, and technical user is just looking at the actual fields, and now there's conflicts. How does the actual editing work, where if I made a change and the change did not sync, and you made the exact same change on the same field, now how does that handle that? I've had similar issues in Word, Excel, other places. So we'll see. Ideas, awesome. Execution, let's see.
Yeah.
Looking forward to see it.
I had that same question in my head. How does it work? Like in PowerPoint, it can lock the slide you're working on. In Word, it can lock the paragraph you're on. But yeah, the syncing stuff, how's that going to work? Be interesting to see. Comes out. I always think about too, with all the new features that come out, how do you help the users with those? Some of them directly face the user, and some of them is things that we use to build things for the user, right? But at any rate, it's going to affect their experience. And how do we help them through that? They're not always simpler. Sometimes they're great. They add lots of power, but they're not always simpler to it. So
Well,
things.
I think also a lot of it is retraining, right? Because, for example, if you look at like Advanced Find, everybody's freaking out because we don't have the pop-up window anymore. We can still do the same thing. We just don't have the pop-up window that we're so used to since version 1, basically, right? But it just cracks me up. You just have to think about it in a different way. That's what it is. It's all a mindset. And then you can actually do a lot of it. It's also nice because you can really tie the tables to the app. There's stuff in there that you don't want people to find, then they can't use Advanced Find for that. So, I mean, from a maker perspective, I think it's great because you can lock stuff down more, right? We couldn't do that before.
Mm-hmm.
Every single table was in there, hence they can search everything, and that might not always be what you want to do, right? So I think, again, it's a mindset. A lot of it is training. I think it's also if you are working for an organization and that, keeping up with those changes, I'm always trying to focus on my website as well, really on those new things. What is it? How does it work? How can we use it? But really trying to focus on the new things so that, people can be prepared. Right. Also, the preview features, I think, is great that Microsoft is doing that. A lot of people are like, oh, this is not working really well. No, it's a preview feature. This is when you give feedback. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Dian, I think that's a really excellent point because the first thing I thought of too is the advanced find, right? When you're talking about the end user and their experience. But it's about continuous change management. And in your training comment, I mean, it goes in with that because people tend to think like, oh, I've set up CRM, I've set up my Power App, cool, now I'm done. But that's not true. It's never true. Because even if you don't personally make any more updates, Microsoft is going to. So you have to have a continuous change management plan in order to prep your users, get them ready, get them on board in order to have a successful launch and just continuation of the system.
That's an excellent point. And I think too often we think about the change management communications too late in the process, right? In reality, we should be telling the users of what's coming, right? Here's the good thing coming. Here's the good result that's brewing at the moment, because it changes the way they look at the change when it comes, right? Instead of just feeling like they're on the hamster wheel, it's another change and it's constant, they feel like there's an improvement coming. It makes a difference.
And I also kind of feel that because I'm not doing implementations anymore, but I used to. I ran 2 different practices for 2 different companies. And what we actually did is we created our own SharePoint site, basically same thing what Microsoft is doing, and then highlighting the features that they were going to implement and doing the videos of it. So to give, users a little bit of a taste of, hey, this is what's coming. We also had those, user groups internally that got access to a sandbox and were able to test that stuff out. If you get the users involved in that way, your adoption rate is going to go through the roof because you're really, getting them involved in the product, listening to them, and like I said, getting them on time, because you're absolutely right. A lot of times they don't get access to it until it actually is turned on and it's implemented, right? And then, I mean, that's too late, honestly, right? Do a pilot.
Yeah.
If it's like a really big change. I always felt that was a really good way, like I said, to also stimulate user adoption on top of that as well.
Very true. You get the feedback from them and you get them to advocate for the change as it comes, because they get excited. Either they don't like it and you find that out early, right? Or they get excited and they help sell it to the rest of the user base. We have that point in the...
A lot of people don't like change, right? And that's usually, they don't even know how the new thing works. And Advanced Find is a great example of that. But you get pushback immediately because it's not the same as what they were used to. But then when people really, start to dig into it, it's like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. But a lot of times you don't even get the chance because it's different, it's changed. I don't like it. So
it's hard to change a first impression too, right? If bad taste in somebody's mouth, it's hard to get rid of that. Yeah. Love it. All right, so let's move to the things that you guys have been sharing in your sessions and things like that. What is the most important thing from what you prepared and what you've been talking about that you think people should get? Where do you go with a green light like that?
Do I get to go first?
Yeah.
So I would say for me, it's probably the admin center is probably the biggest one. So that session for me is tomorrow. Tomorrow at 11, last session of the conference. Gotta love those last session times. But I still see a lot of people now as an independent consultant. I still see a lot of end users and even consultants jumping into the old UI to make changes or to make security changes. I mean, any sort of setting. And so it's educating people that, hey, there's even a message now. This is moved. It's going to go away. Now, who knows how long it'll take Microsoft to get rid of it. But, you know, we've really got to start pushing people to the new stuff because the old stuff is going to go away. The legacy UI, you saw they already changed Advanced Bind. That was one of the things that we were like, oh, that'll never change. Or when they change that, that's when we know. Well, now we know it's actually Microsoft is committed to the new UI. So, so that session is tomorrow. I think that's an important one, is getting people comfortable with, you know, administering their systems from the admin center.
Nice point.
I think for me, I did 2 sessions already, one more later that we'll talk about. And one of those sessions was just on Dataverse security. And it's not like an exciting session. It's just like slides for 60 minutes and talking about all this stuff. And it's really important because all of these things, like even in that time, we're just touching the surface on so much of security. And unfortunately, you do need to understand a lot of that to make sure your users don't have access to do things you don't want them to do. The music. And so you're not. No, I'm back. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. And my other session was about AI Builder, which is just fun. I don't know what's happening.
Maybe it's just slow.
Maybe it's the internet. Blame the internet.
Now it's back.
Okay, who knows? Yeah, I've been getting a little delay on you guys, so maybe, who knows? Anyways, the other one was AI Builder, and it was just a lot of fun because it's fun to play with, makes a fun demo. So, Dian?
Unmute. So, like I said earlier, I always focus my website and my YouTube videos are really focused on some of the new stuff that's coming out and then like new preview features and that type of stuff. But I think a year and a half ago, I started putting together a session about existing features in Dynamics 365 for customer engagement that are there that people might not know about. And actually, I did that session in San Diego as well. I keep saying San Diego, San Antonio, during Dynamics Con Live. And after each item, right, each feature that I show, I kind of ask people like, okay, how many people knew about this? And it was so surprising that there in, you know, when we did that in Texas, and then again, when I did it here, it's like the most hands up I got was like 3 or 4 max. And a lot of them is like 1 or 2 people knew about it, which is great. So for me, it's really like, yeah, this is great, all these new features, but there's a lot of stuff in there that you might not be using because you don't know about it, right? So that's really what I'm kind of focusing on. I've done 3 sessions so far. Well, 1 panel and 2 sessions. And then tomorrow at 9, is it 9? I'm doing a session on the power of Dynamics 365 sales. So that's, again, kind of in that mindset a little bit. Look, this is Dynamics 365 sales. These are all the features. Are you using all of that? So one of them is this is a recorded demo that I'm doing. I recorded some of my demos because the internet was sometimes a little iffy, right? So I can fall back on that because I do want the people that are in my sessions to have a good experience, not just watch me like trying to get a page to load, right? So
Wait for it to load, yeah.
Oh my goodness, I actually downloaded the Jeopardy theme so I can play that when it takes too long. But yeah, so I kind of did that. But this particular demo is really cool because I'm actually doing receiving a call inside of Dynamics 365 with that integrated, right, Teams integration, the call experience. And then you can see that the conversation is actually recorded and transcribed. And then that summary is related to that phone call that's automatically created, which you can then pull up and you get that full summary. You can play back the recording. And this is, again, what Microsoft is focusing on, right? Really trying to, I don't know about you, but if I'm on a call and I take notes, I miss half of the conversation. So now you don't have to do that anymore because there's certain keywords that you can click on and it shows you where those keywords were used. Because otherwise you're going to say, okay, now I have an hour of, transcribed conversation. It's going to take me an hour to 5 hours to read through that. No, because if there's certain things that you're looking for, you just click through that. So yeah, that's a very long story, but.
Good stuff though. It's good stuff. It's stuff like that makes it, to me, regrettable, the licensing decision with the the Viva sales thing, because it's such a game changer. You would think that would be such a big carrot for market share and things like that if everybody could do this.
Exactly. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
They didn't ask me. That's right.
I agree with you, though, because those are some of the points, like I said, especially because I'm on a pre-sale side, those are some of the points that you relay to, right, the folks that you're showing this solution to, right? It's not just one product, it's really a full solution set. And, really allowing people to take advantage of, right, all of that stuff, all of that, what Kylie was saying earlier as well, like being able to collaborate in the application without having to leave the application. I mean, I was blown away by this number. Like, I think you lose 75% of productivity because your users are switching back between apps. That is a large number. That's a lot of money. You know what I mean? So if you now have a platform where you can push that back because you can work in whatever app you're working in, whether that's Outlook or Teams or Dynamics or whatever, I mean, you get a lot of productivity back, which is money in your pocket, right, as an organization. So yeah, making it that expensive is kind of shooting yourself in the foot almost, I want to say, but you know what I mean?
Feels like it. Yeah. I understand the importance of having licensing in tiers and some things being an enterprise level or big. I understand that, but my perspective on this is that's the wrong one. That's such a basic usage feature for everybody but we'll see what happens.
Sometimes I feel you have to think, further than just the licenses. If you have a bigger chance to sell because this piece is not that expensive or this piece is free. Hello, Microsoft, are you listening? You have a bigger chance because now you can pitch it that way. Those are really strong selling points. You know what I mean? So if you just, want to make money on those licenses, you're going to lose way bigger deals. And is that really worth it?
Yeah.
Microsoft, hello.
Those kind of things are the ones that the end users get excited about. Those are the things they care about. Whereas new field types and things like that, they're important, but the person using the software doesn't care near as much about those things as they do about the meeting integration and the transcripts and all that collaboration stuff. It's a game changer.
How can I do my job better? If I show you something that's going to make you so much faster and so much, allow you to be more productive because of all these tools that you have at your fingertips, we're going to be super excited about it. Like you said, right? I don't care about how somebody is modifying the interface or all that kind of stuff, right? Show me how I, as an individual, can do my job better, faster, right? But then again, right, if we do the licenses, the pricing too high, then it's kind of like, okay, guys.
Yeah, agree completely. How about you, Asif?
Yeah, so many good ideas. I don't even know where to start. First of all, I want to give a shout out to all three ladies over here because I've learned a lot from all three of you. Thank you very much over the months and actually more than that, a couple of years actually that I've been involved in a dynamic space now. I've watched your videos. I've been to every single of your sessions and they've been pretty awesome. So it talks about the administration, the artificial intelligence capabilities, the new features and the waves. It's really helpful. In fact, the session that I'm doing also is, should I say it? It's based on Dian's inspiration that I got, that when I read her article, I'm like, oh, I didn't know this capability existed. And then I went ahead and created the idea and it just got deeper and deeper. You talked about switching context and how that hurts productivity. That's exactly what we've been talking about at our VisualSP booth over here the whole last day, that, hey guys, you want to keep people where they are. You want to reduce friction as much as possible. You want to make it and have a specific formula within 2 clicks and 10 seconds, get them the answer that they're looking for. Otherwise, user adoption hurts. That's just a fact. It's not me making this up. It's research done on that. Having said that, my session. What I'm excited about, I'm doing that tomorrow. I think the same time as yours, Ashley. So sorry, it's gonna be competing 11 a.m. Is very much about user adoption. It's about eliminating or at least reducing context switching. It's reducing frustration from users, because all the stuff we're talking about, the stuff that we're excited with, none of this stuff matters at the end of the day if people are not excited about using it and the capabilities. So I've been a big proponent, as you know, Eric, on this thing, and I'm excited to talk about it. The capabilities that are out of the box, the in dynamics that many people are not aware. Just like Dian, when I did this session last time or 2 times ago, and I was asking folks, hey, who knows about this functionality? I got 2 hands. And usually those people, I think, were speakers on that have actually done something similar, and nobody else knew. It's amazing. So understanding what you have out of the box, where you can take it, and of course, if you need it further, then there's companies like ours and others who can take it much, much further. But at the end of the day, making users successful. Because without the users, and I learned this the hard way, because I used to be a programmer, then I used to be an administrator, I used to be a trainer, I did all this stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, user adoption is not even something you should think about. Just, of course, I'm making some amazing stuff and people are going to use it, but that's not the truth. So you have to care about it. You have to make it as a process ongoing. So that's what I'll be talking about in my session, and excited, looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a powerful point. I know one of the things we talk a lot about in our success calls with customers is that time lost when people when they have a question with it, right? A lot of times we think about the IT costs associated with that, which set that aside for a moment, right? The cost for the user that has the question, right? If they can't find the answer on their own, they don't know where to look, they can't find it, they go Google for it. How long do you think somebody loses, when they do that? We estimate conservatively, on average, it's 15 minutes every time they have a question they have to go look for somewhere. Realistically, the context switching, it's probably double that, realistically. But 15 minutes is a pretty easy to defend number on those things. Even if you find it in the first couple of results, the process of getting there and reading it and getting back and determining if it is the right answer and all that. And anyway, big productivity when you calculate that out times the number of questions somebody has on a tool like Dynamics over the course of a month, right? How many is that? I read an article from Gartner recently, though, that was about the support side of that. Every time a user contacts support with a question, Gartner says it costs $8.01. That's not resolving a ticket. That's just every time they contact with a question, whether it's chat, email, call, ticket, whatever it is. Just the contact and the question costs you $8. Kind of blew my mind a little bit. I mean, I knew there was a cost, but I'm curious what all they're putting into that. But how many questions do you think somebody has? The average user in a month. Yeah, I don't know how you quantify that at the moment. I mean, we've been talking about that internally with it because it's such a powerful number.
And then you get new hires and they have even more questions, right? And then you need to train them up. So that's going to be a lot of cost there. I mean, it really adds up. And I don't think, plus the other thing is like the time that they're, researching that question, they're not really doing any work. They're not being, you're losing that productivity as well. So it's like a double-edged sword almost, right?
It really is. And it really gets back to what all of you were saying, over the course of this conversation, is how important it is to go that extra mile and to do the things to help your users, whatever that is, whether it's simplifying the way you build something, whether it's doing the help and the training and the support and all those kind of things, communicating to the users, the user groups that you work with champions and the feedback, all that. It feels like a thankless job. It is a thankless job in a lot of cases, but that doesn't mean it's not important, right? It makes all the difference. All right, so for the sake of time, we might skip the question here about what you learned or heard from another speaker. We can come back to it if we have time. What's left on the schedule for the conference that you think is a can't miss?
Well, first of all, everyone else already mentioned their 11 a.m. sessions tomorrow. I also have an 11 a.m. session tomorrow. So
I wanted to make sure we didn't miss the question. We wanted you to have your chance.
Right.
That's right.
I gotta have my chance to promote. So me and Heidi Newhauser are doing 60 tips in 60 minutes. So we have a million slides, automatic transitions every 45 seconds or something like that to make sure we get through all of them. And so it's going to be jam-packed with content. If you know nothing about the new features, start with Ashley's session. And then, but if you're already using the Maker portal then and Admin Center, then come to our session. We'll have all kinds of tips for you. Does anyone have other sessions that are not our own that they really are excited about?
And you can
Well,
talk about one you've seen already at this point too from another session. That's fair too, since we skipped the question, right?
Well, I can talk about one later today. I'm getting an echo. Sorry. One later today. It's by a junior person who's new to the space. She came through the Power Platform School. She's going to be talking about how to do surveys through customer voice, and then using Power Automate to kind of build that and come up with the results, and then in Power BI. So her name is Mariah. It's her first time speaking, so everyone should show up and totally make her nervous. So that one I wish I could go to, but I actually have the medic desk at the same time. So I have a few people that are going to go to it for me and tell me about it. But I think that's a can't miss because I think customer voice is overlooked a lot. It's obviously the survey tool that Microsoft came out with, and people are always looking for a survey option, and then this shows how you can interact that with other things in the Power Platform. So I think that's going to be a good session. Also, to support a new person in the space speaking, I think is also something that we as pros at this, can't miss, or, we should support. So pretty excited about that.
It's a good point. It's a growing community, so it's good to encourage the new speakers and then encourage that growth. Good to see. I like it. No pressure, but a chance. If anybody else has something on their mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said, that if you don't want to come to mine, go to their sessions. Their sessions have been awesome. So of course I want you to come to mine 11 a.m. if you can, but if not, yeah.
Well, mine's at 9, so.
Oh, okay. Definitely
Mine's
go
at
to
9
hers.
a.m.
It's not
There
the
we
same
go.
time as mine. That's good.
Compatibility.
Both Kylie and Ashley's sessions are exactly at my time. I don't know why that's the case. I shouldn't be like that, but it is. Anyway.
Well, I do have one at 2 today as well. So you guys
okay, there you go.
On the
There
XRM
you go.
toolbox. So feel free to come to that. We're going to highlight some cool XRM tools that, and
That's a
we
good
did
one.
pre-recorded demos. I think, Dian, you said you did that. We just recorded it ahead of time because I can't imagine trying to demo XRM Toolbox live on this Wi-Fi. But so just highlighting some of our favorite ones, and then also taking requests from the audience of like, what are some problems? Actually, I had somebody in my session yesterday say, hey, how can I do this? And I was like, there's an XRM Toolbox tool that will do that right away for you. So yeah, come to that one too if you guys aren't busy this afternoon.
But like they say, use XRM Toolbox responsibly. There's so much power with things like level up and stuff that you could do. It's sometimes a disaster waiting to happen. So please, just like they say, drink responsibly, use the XRM Toolbox also responsibly with all these different things.
There are some really cool tools in there, though.
Oh yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Ivan Fico just actually this was a little bit ago, but I'm sure everybody heard of the in-app notifications. I actually mentioned this in my session as well. Not just the in-app notifications, but because those are records, right? They're in an actual table, which a lot of people didn't realize. So you can actually use Ivan's tool to create your card. Very easy, selecting, do some drag and drop almost, selecting some icons and stuff. You can upload your own icon. And then there's a button on there that says Power Automate, and then it just spits out I don't want to say code, but it's kind of like that, right? A little bit of that type of data that you can then copy and paste into that step to create that notification. So, I mean, I just love that tool because, right, I'm not a developer. I mean, I know a tiny little bit JavaScript, but that's about it. So, for those types of things, I think it's pretty cool to utilize that.
Yeah, definitely. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's an awesome toolbox with so many different things. It's just the potential is amazing. With power comes responsibility, as they say. So just be responsible. Yeah.
Yep, true. That's the line we always say in those points. Or just because you can do something doesn't mean you can. But yeah. powerful stuff. It's always the case with any kind of a power tool to do. So well, thank you everybody for joining us today. Been a very good conversation. We appreciate it. It's a good conference. What I've been impressed with is the depth of some of the sessions. You know, a lot of conferences I've been to over the years, it's good for a cross section of things. But you know, you don't get the depth that you would get if you go somewhere for a dedicated, you know, event on something. But there's been more depth in this one than I've typically seen, which is a nice combination, because you can get the things that are more broader, or you can get the things that are deeper with it, depending on what your current need is, where you are in your life cycle with the platform, where you are in your own personal growth and experience. It's been very useful.
Yeah, I also feel like, because we also did a Power Platform Conference, which was also a lot of times you have these types of events, right? Really focused on dynamics and ERP systems, CRM system, blah, blah, blah. And then you get the Power tools, right? Power Automate, Power Virtual Agent, they kind of are a little on the side almost, I want to say. So being able to go to a conference that was really focused on those power tools, I thought was really, I mean, it's the first time Microsoft did it, and they're actually going to be back in Vegas next year. I believe it's in October. So I really kind of, like you said, now you actually had the ability to go into those tools and go a little bit further in depth, which I thought was amazing. So
Exciting conference. It really was, both that one and this one. So we did get one question in our chat from customers. It's a very broad question. We've got 1 minute left. Okay, so it's a lightning round. Right? But is there a way to explain Dynamics 365 in basic terms? Is it just CRM or more? Right? An open-ended question, right? Any proverbs or pearls of wisdom to share?
I think I've been voluntold to answer this. I think so. When everyone, most people sitting here on the panel say Dynamics 365, we're talking about Dynamics 365 CE, or customer engagement, which is traditionally the CRM features and includes like sales and marketing, and all of the Microsoft's additional added value features in there. And all of that is built on top of what's called Dataverse, which is just the fancy database that has some additional logic built in there. But when you hear the term Dynamics 365 in a broader sense, there are other products that are part of that are being represented at this conference as well, including GP, NAV, I'm reading the sign, and F&O, Finance and Ops. So there are a lot of other products in there, so that makes it a bigger conversation.
Right. That was a good summary. Wide range of tools that are in there. CRM probably the biggest part of it.
I usually tell my clients, because they're very confused a lot, or my prospects, to say that D365 or Dynamics 365, what is that? That's an ERP. It's kind of, look at it, I think, as an umbrella, like they branded right, a lot of ERPs, like GP, like BC, all of those fall under that Dynamics 365 umbrella. And then you have, right, the different types of systems, like a CRM system. I mean, like you were saying too, customer engagement is not, it started out when I started working with it was version 4.0, and that was when it was kind of like a CRM system, right? But now there's so much more, right? They have so many additional things now that come with it, like field service, project operations, etc. So I think it's kind of like a CRM on steroids, on steroids, on steroids almost. So hopefully that helps.
Mm-hmm. It does. Well, thank you for the question, and thank you for the answers as well. Well, we'll wrap it up for today. Once again, thank you to all of our panelists. Very much enjoyed having a conversation together, and enjoyed the conference, and enjoyed the chance to share some of the highlights with our customers and others that may be watching. So thanks a lot. We will see you next month. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Bye, guys.